In the heart of a jagged mountain range, where the peaks kissed the clouds and rivers snaked through valleys like veins on an ancient map, there lived a farmer named Thaddeus. He was a man of simple tastes, content with his life tending to crops that stubbornly grew in soil too rocky for most others to bother with. His days were filled with the rhythm of nature, waking at dawn, working under the sun, and retiring when twilight painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson. But this particular evening would change everything. Thaddeus had just finished repairing a broken fence post when he heard it, a sound unlike anything he'd ever encountered before. It wasn't quite mechanical, nor entirely animalistic. It hummed and buzzed, as if some unseen force were testing the air itself. The noise seemed to come from the dense woods beyond his fields, where shadows stretched long even during midday. Curiosity got the better of him, so he grabbed his lantern and ventured toward the source. The forest swallowed him whole, its canopy blocking out what little light remained in the fading day. Every step crunched leaves beneath his boots, but the strange sound grew louder still, guiding him deeper into the unknown. Finally, after what felt like hours, he stumbled upon a clearing bathed in pale blue light. At first, he thought it might be moonlight filtering through the trees, but then he saw her, an alien mother, her form both beautiful and otherworldly. She stood about 7 feet tall, her skin shimmering like liquid silver under the glow of 2 hovering orbs that hovered near her shoulders. Her eyes, large and almond-shaped, glowed faintly green, and her hair, if you could call it that, floated around her head like strands of living starlight. She wore a flowing garment that shifted colors depending on how she moved, as though it were alive. In her arms, she held 2 small beings who resembled miniature versions of herself, their tiny faces pinched with hunger. "Please," she said, her voice resonating as though it came from everywhere at once. "My twin children are starving. I'll do anything. Just feed them." Thaddeus froze, unsure whether to laugh or run. Aliens weren't something he'd ever expected to encounter while fixing fences on his remote farm. Yet here she was, pleading with him as if they were old friends meeting by chance. Her desperation was palpable, cutting through his disbelief like a knife. What exactly am I supposed to do?" Thaddeus stammered, clutching his lantern tightly. "I don't know your food," she admitted, her glowing eyes darting between him and her children. "But these mountains, they feel full of energy. Surely there is something here they can eat." Thaddeus scratched his head, trying to make sense of her request. Energy. Did she mean electricity? Or maybe minerals? He glanced down at the sack of potatoes he'd brought along for dinner. They looked ordinary enough, but perhaps they'd work as a temporary solution. "Here," he said hesitantly, pulling out one of the potatoes. "Try this." The alien mother took the potato gingerly, examining it as though it were a priceless artifact. She sniffed it cautiously, then offered it to one of her twins. The child nibbled tentatively before recoiling with a look of pure disgust. "Not compatible," she sighed, handing the potato back to Thaddeus. "We need sustenance that aligns with our biology. Something alive." That word sent a shiver down Thaddeus's spine. Alive? What did that even mean? Was she asking him to sacrifice livestock? Or worse? He tried not to let his imagination spiral out of control. "All right," he said slowly, "let me think about this. Maybe we can figure something out together." Over the next few days, Thaddeus found himself caught up in a whirlwind of bizarre experiments. The alien mother, who introduced herself as Lyra, explained that her people thrived on bioenergy, the essence of living things, but only certain types worked for them. Plants didn't seem to suffice, nor did animals native to Earth. It became clear that finding suitable sustenance wouldn't be easy. Lyra proved surprisingly resourceful despite her predicament. Using the floating orbs that accompanied her, she demonstrated incredible abilities, such as levitating objects or creating brief bursts of heat. One afternoon, she used her powers to help Thaddeus repair a leaky roof on his barn, much to his amazement. Another time, she conjured a protective barrier around his crops, warding off a swarm of locusts that threatened to destroy his harvest. Despite her alien nature, Lyra began to feel less like a stranger and more like a partner. Thaddeus marveled at her intelligence and determination, qualities that reminded him of his late wife, Sarah. Watching Lyra care for her twins stirred memories of happier times, making him wonder if fate had brought her here for a reason. Meanwhile, the twins, whom Lyra called Astra and Solon, grew increasingly weak without proper nourishment. Their once bright glow dimmed, and their playful antics turned sluggish. Thaddeus couldn't bear to see them suffer, especially since they reminded him of his own children, now grown and living far away in the city. Determined to help, he scoured the mountains for anything unusual, hoping to stumble upon something that might sustain them. One morning, while exploring a hidden cave system, Thaddeus discovered a peculiar plant glowing faintly in the darkness. Its leaves pulsed with a soft luminescence, and tiny tendrils reached out toward him as though beckoning him closer. Intrigued, he carefully dug it up and brought it back to show Lyra. "This could be it," she exclaimed upon seeing it. "It resembles flora from my home world. Let us test it immediately." With trembling hands, she fed a small piece of the plant to Astra, who perked up almost instantly. Solon followed suit, devouring another morsel with newfound enthusiasm. For the first time in days, laughter echoed through Thaddeus's cabin as the twins regained their strength. But their relief was short-lived. As night fell, strange noises began emanating from outside, a low rumble accompanied by flashes of red light. Thaddeus peered out the window to see several metallic shapes descending from the sky, each emitting a hum similar to the one he'd heard when he first met Lyra. "They've found us," Lyra whispered, her expression grim. "My people, they must have tracked my distress signal. But they won't understand what has happened here. To them, humans are primitive, unworthy of trust." Before Thaddeus could respond, the door burst open, revealing three figures clad in sleek armor that reflected the flickering lantern light. Their leader stepped forward, towering over everyone in the room. His voice boomed like thunder as he addressed Lyra. "You abandoned your duty, sister. And now you consort with primitives? This betrayal will not go unpunished." Thaddeus instinctively placed himself between the armored figures and Lyra's family. Gripping a pitchfork he kept handy for dealing with unruly cattle. Though fear coursed through him, he refused to back down. "If you want to hurt them," he growled, "you'll have to get through me first." The standoff crackled with tension, neither side willing to yield. Just as the armored leader raised a weapon resembling a staff, Lyra stepped forward, her body radiating an intense blue light. "Enough!" she commanded, her voice amplified tenfold. "You will not harm these humans, or my children. If you wish to punish someone, punish me." Her bravery stunned everyone present, including Thaddeus. Before anyone could react further, the ground beneath them trembled violently, causing rocks to tumble from the ceiling. Amidst the chaos, Lyra seized the moment, using her powers to create a diversion. Grabbing Thaddeus and her twins, she teleported them outside, leaving the intruders behind in confusion. Panting heavily, Thaddeus stared at Lyra in awe. "Where do we go now?" She looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with resolve. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere they won't find us. Together, we'll figure it out." And with that, the unlikely trio set off into the wilderness, pursued by forces determined to bring them back, or eliminate them altogether. Little did they know, their journey was only beginning. The cold mountain air bit at Thaddeus's cheeks as they fled into the night, their footsteps crunching against frost-covered leaves. Lyra led the way, her glowing orbs lighting up the path ahead while her flowing garment shimmered faintly in the darkness. Astra and Solon clung to her sides, their tiny forms bouncing with each hurried step. Despite their recent meal from the mysterious glowing plant, the twins still looked fragile, their once vivid luminescence dulled by exhaustion. Thaddeus lagged slightly behind, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He wasn't used to running this hard or this far, especially not on uneven terrain littered with roots and rocks. But he didn't dare slow down, not when those armored figures could be hot on their trail. Every snapped twig or rustling bush made him flinch, expecting the worst. "Lyra," he called out between breaths. "Where exactly are we going?" She glanced over her shoulder, her green eyes filled with both determination and worry. "There's a place, a cavern I sensed earlier during my search for food. It's hidden deep within these mountains. If we can reach it, we might stand a chance." "A cavern?" Thaddeus echoed skeptically. "You think hiding in a hole is going to stop them? They've got weapons that look like they could level your entire ship." Lyra stopped abruptly, turning to face him. Her expression softened, though her voice remained firm. I don't have all the answers, Thaddeus. But staying here isn't an option. Those soldiers, they won't hesitate to harm you or anyone else who gets in their way. My children and I are already fugitives in their eyes. You shouldn't even be involved. Thaddeus straightened, brushing dirt off his hands. Too late for that now, isn't it? Besides, you saved my crops, helped fix my barn. I owe you. And those little ones. He gestured toward Astra and Solon, who peeked shyly at him from behind Lyra's legs. They deserve better than being hunted like animals. For a moment, Lyra just stared at him, her luminous gaze searching his face. Then she nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. Thank you, Thaddeus. For everything. Before either of them could say more, a sharp whistling sound cut through the air. Instinctively, Lyra threw up one of her protective barriers just as a bolt of searing red energy struck where they had been standing moments before. The explosion sent shock waves rippling through the forest, knocking Thaddeus off his feet. They're here, Lyra shouted, scooping up Astra and Solon. She extended her hand toward Thaddeus, pulling him upright with surprising strength. Run! They sprinted faster than ever, weaving through trees and leaping over fallen logs. Behind them, the hum of alien machinery grew louder, accompanied by shouts in a language Thaddeus couldn't understand. Occasionally, bursts of light illuminated the woods as the pursuers fired their weapons indiscriminately, scorching tree trunks and igniting patches of dry grass. Just when Thaddeus thought his legs would give out, Lyra veered sharply to the left, disappearing into a narrow crevice barely wide enough for her to squeeze through. Thaddeus hesitated only briefly before following, scraping his arms and shoulders against jagged stone walls. Inside, the air was damp and cool, carrying the faint scent of earth and moss. This is it, Lyra whispered, her orbs dimming to avoid detection. She guided them deeper into the cavern, the passage twisting and turning until they emerged into a vast underground chamber. Stalactites hung from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls, and a crystal-clear pool reflected the soft glow of bioluminescent fungi clinging to the walls. It's beautiful, Thaddeus murmured, momentarily forgetting the danger outside. Yes, Lyra agreed, setting Astra and Solon down near the edge of the pool. But beauty won't save us. We need to fortify this space, make it impossible for them to find us. Thaddeus frowned. How do we do that without tools or supplies? This place may be hidden, but if they start scanning the area... Lyra placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Leave that part to me. Just stay close and keep my children safe. With that, she closed her eyes, raising her arms as if summoning something from deep within herself. The orbs hovering above her began to spin rapidly, emitting a low hum that resonated throughout the cavern. Tiny motes of light drifted toward her, coalescing into intricate patterns that danced across the walls. Slowly, the chamber transformed, its natural features blending seamlessly with alien technology. Cracks sealed themselves shut, stalagmites shifted to form makeshift barriers, and the entrance narrowed further, almost disappearing entirely. When she finally lowered her arms, sweat glistened on her forehead, and her glow had dimmed significantly. That should hold them off for now, she said weakly. But it won't last forever. Thaddeus moved closer, concern etched on his face. Are you all right? You look exhausted. I'll recover, she assured him, though her voice lacked conviction. Energy manipulation takes its toll, especially when I'm trying to protect so many people. Thaddeus knelt beside her, offering her a canteen of water from his pack. Here. Drink this. You're no good to anyone if you collapse. Lyra accepted it gratefully, taking small sips before passing it to Astra and Solon. As the twins drank, Thaddeus noticed how much quieter they had become since the chase began. Their usual curiosity seemed muted, replaced by a wary alertness that tugged at his heartstrings. We'll get through this, he told them gently, ruffling Solon's hair. All of us. Astra tilted her head, studying him with wide, unblinking eyes. Why are you helping us, human? Her question caught him off guard. Well, because it's the right thing to do, I guess. Your mom asked for help, and I couldn't turn her away. But humans fear what they don't understand, Solon chimed in, echoing words he must have heard from Lyra. Fear leads to anger, and anger leads to violence. Thaddeus chuckled softly. Sounds like someone's been paying attention to their lessons. Look, kid, maybe some humans are like that, but not all of us. Sometimes, doing the right thing means stepping past fear and trusting others, even if they're different. Lyra watched the exchange silently, her expression unreadable. When Thaddeus turned back to her, she gave him a grateful nod. You truly are remarkable, Thaddeus. Most beings wouldn't show such kindness to strangers. He shrugged modestly. Let's just hope it doesn't get us killed. As the hours passed, the group settled into an uneasy routine. Lyra rested while Thaddeus kept watch near the concealed entrance, listening intently for any signs of pursuit. Occasionally, he ventured back to check on the twins, entertaining them with stories of life on Earth, tales of harvest festivals, snowball fights, and the simple joys of farming. To his surprise, they listened eagerly, peppering him with questions about everything from weather patterns to animal behavior. At one point, Astra asked, "Do you miss your own children, human?" Thaddeus paused, caught off guard by the question. Yeah, sometimes. They're grown now, living their own lives. But having you two around reminds me of what it was like when they were little. And your mate? Solon pressed. Where is she? His throat tightened at the memory. She passed away a few years ago. Cancer took her too soon. The twins exchanged a glance, their expressions solemn. We're sorry for your loss, Astra said quietly. It must hurt deeply. It does, Thaddeus admitted. But memories keep her alive in my heart. And knowing she'd want me to help someone in need, it gives me strength. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden rumble, shaking the very foundation of the cavern. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the faint hum of machinery echoed ominously. Thaddeus sprang to his feet, rushing to join Lyra near the entrance. They've found us, she said grimly, her glow intensifying as she prepared herself for another confrontation. This time, they won't stop until we're captured, or dead. Thaddeus clenched his fists, adrenaline coursing through him. Then let's make sure neither happens. Outside, the metallic shapes of their pursuers loomed closer, their red lights cutting through the darkness like predatory eyes. Lyra raised her hands, ready to unleash her powers once more, but Thaddeus stepped forward, positioning himself between her and the threat. No, he said firmly. Let me distract them. You focus on getting the kids to safety. Lyra grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly strong. You can't fight them alone, Thaddeus. You're only human. He met her gaze steadily. And you're only one alien. We're stronger together, remember? Reluctantly, she nodded, her orbs pulsating with renewed energy. Very well. But stick close, we don't have much time. Together, they emerged from the cavern, facing the advancing forces head-on. The leader of the armored figures stepped forward, his weapon trained directly on Thaddeus. Surrender now, sister, and perhaps we'll spare your companions. Thaddeus smirked despite the tension. Yeah, good luck with that. With a roar, the battle began. Lyra unleashed waves of energy, forcing the attackers to scatter, while Thaddeus used every trick he knew to evade capture. Rocks became improvised projectiles, and his trusty pitchfork proved surprisingly effective against their sleek armor. Meanwhile, Astra and Solon huddled behind a boulder, watching anxiously as their mother fought alongside the human who would become their unlikely protector. But the enemy outnumbered them, and fatigue began to take its toll. Just as hope seemed lost, a deafening roar echoed through the valley, followed by a massive shadow descending from the sky. All eyes turned upward as a colossal creature, a dragon-like being with scales that shimmered like starlight, landed heavily on the ground, its golden eyes blazing with fury. What is that? Thaddeus stammered, staring in disbelief. Lyra's voice trembled with awe. An ancient guardian. I thought they were extinct. The creature let out another ear-splitting roar, charging toward the invaders with claws extended. Chaos erupted as the armored figures scrambled to regroup, their weapons proving ineffective against the beast's sheer size and power. Seizing the opportunity, Lyra grabbed Thaddeus and her children, teleporting them back inside the cavern. Safe, for now, they collapsed onto the cool stone floor, breathing heavily. Thaddeus looked at Lyra, his mind racing with questions. What just happened? Where did that thing come from? She shook her head, equally bewildered. I don't know. But it bought us time, and possibly our lives. As they caught their breath, the distant sounds of battle faded into silence. Whatever the outcome, one thing was certain: their journey was far from over. The silence that followed the battle was both a relief and unnerving. Thaddeus sat cross-legged on the cavern floor, his hands trembling slightly as he tried to steady his breathing. Lyra leaned against a stalagmite, her glow dim but steady, while Astra and Solon huddled together, their wide eyes darting toward the concealed entrance every few seconds. Do you think it's safe out there? Thaddeus asked finally, breaking the heavy quiet. Lyra shook her head slowly. Not yet. That guardian, it may have driven them off for now, but they'll regroup. They always do. Her words hung in the air like frost, chilling everyone present. Thaddeus glanced at the twins, whose faces were pale with exhaustion and fear. He couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. These children had done nothing wrong, yet they were caught in the middle of something far beyond their understanding. And here he was, an ordinary farmer, trying to protect them from forces he barely comprehended. What happens next? He asked, turning back to Lyra. If we stay hidden, they'll eventually find us. If we run, they'll chase us. We can't keep doing this forever. Lyra closed her eyes, her brow furrowing in thought. When she spoke, her voice was soft but resolute. There's only one option left, a place where even my people wouldn't dare follow. But getting there will be dangerous. Thaddeus raised an eyebrow. Dangerous how? She hesitated before answering. It's called the Veil, a dimensional rift that exists between worlds. Crossing it isn't easy, and survival isn't guaranteed. But if we make it through, we'll be somewhere completely inaccessible to them. Thaddeus let out a low whistle. Between worlds, huh? Sounds like something out of one of those sci-fi movies I used to watch late at night. This is no movie, Lyra said sharply, though not unkindly. The Veil is unpredictable, chaotic. It could tear us apart, or spit us out into another reality entirely. But staying here means certain capture, or worse. He nodded grimly, rubbing the back of his neck. All right, then. How do we get to this Veil? Lyra stood, wincing slightly as she straightened. We need to reach the peak of the highest mountain nearby. The energy currents there are strong enough to open a gateway. But, she trailed off, glancing at her weakened state and then at the twins. I'm not sure I have the strength to create a stable passage. Thaddeus frowned. Then what can I do to help? Her glowing eyes met his, filled with gratitude and determination. You'll have to carry the twins part of the way. And when we're close, I'll need your focus, your belief, to anchor me. Energy manipulation requires more than just physical power. It feeds on emotion, resolve, trust. Trust, Thaddeus repeated, nodding firmly. Got it. Let's move before they come back. The journey to the summit was grueling. The terrain grew steeper and more treacherous with each step, forcing them to navigate narrow ridges and icy cliffs. At times, Thaddeus carried both Astra and Solon on his back, their small bodies clinging to him as they ascended higher into the biting cold. Lyra walked beside him, her orbs casting faint light over the path ahead, though her movements were sluggish and labored. Despite the harsh conditions, the twins remained remarkably resilient. Astra peppered Thaddeus with questions about Earth's geography, while Solon marveled at the constellations visible in the clear mountain sky. Their curiosity reminded him of simpler days, when his own children would ask endless questions during family hikes. You humans are strange, Astra remarked at one point, her voice muffled against his shoulder. Your world seems so fragile, yet you cling to it so fiercely. Thaddeus chuckled softly. Yeah, well, it's all we've got. And sometimes, protecting what you love makes you stronger than you ever thought possible. Solon tilted his head thoughtfully. That's why you're helping us, isn't it? Because you care about us, even though we're not human. "That's right," Thaddeus replied, giving him a gentle pat. "Now, hold on tight. We've still got a long way to go." As dawn approached, they reached the base of the final ascent. The wind howled mercilessly, carrying with it the scent of snow and stone. Above them loomed the jagged peak, its summit shrouded in swirling clouds. Lyra paused, closing her eyes as if sensing something invisible. "We're close," she murmured. "But so are they." Sure enough, distant shouts echoed up the mountainside, accompanied by the hum of alien technology. Thaddeus clenched his jaw, urging the group forward with renewed urgency. Every muscle in his body screamed in protest as they climbed, but he refused to slow down, not with danger closing in behind them. When they finally reached the summit, the view took Thaddeus's breath away. The horizon stretched endlessly in every direction, bathed in the golden light of sunrise. Below, the forest looked like a sea of green, dotted with rivers that gleamed like silver threads. For a brief moment, he forgot the peril they were in, awestruck by the beauty of the world he'd spent his life tending. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Lyra said softly, standing beside him. "A reminder of why we fight." Before Thaddeus could respond, the ground beneath them trembled violently. A shadow passed overhead, blotting out the sun. Looking up, he saw several ships descending rapidly, their sleek forms cutting through the sky like predatory birds. The leader of the armored figures emerged from one of them, landing gracefully on the rocky terrain. "You cannot escape destiny, sister," the figure declared, his voice amplified by some unseen mechanism. "Come willingly, or perish here." Lyra stepped forward, shielding Thaddeus and her children with her body. "You leave me no choice." With that, she raised her arms, summoning every ounce of energy she had left. The orbs above her began to spin wildly, emitting a high-pitched whine that made Thaddeus's teeth ache. Cracks appeared in the air itself, as though reality were being torn apart. A shimmering portal materialized before them, pulsating with colors that defied description. "Go!" Lyra shouted, pushing Thaddeus toward the opening. "Take the twins and jump." "But what about you?" he demanded, refusing to budge. "I'll hold them off," she insisted, her voice cracking with strain. "Just go." Thaddeus hesitated, torn between obeying her command and staying to fight alongside her. Before he could decide, Astra tugged urgently at his sleeve. "Please, human," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "Don't let her sacrifice be in vain." Reluctantly, he scooped up the twins and leapt through the portal, the sensation akin to falling through liquid fire. Behind him, he heard Lyra unleash a final, desperate burst of energy, followed by the sound of explosions and shouts. Then everything went black. When Thaddeus came to, he found himself lying on soft grass under a sky unlike any he'd ever seen. Two suns hung low on the horizon, casting dual shadows across the landscape. Strange plants swayed gently in the breeze, their petals glowing faintly. Beside him, Astra and Solon stirred, their eyes wide with wonder. "Where are we?" Thaddeus croaked, struggling to sit up. "The other side," Astra whispered reverently. "We made it." Thaddeus scanned the area, his heart sinking. "But where's your mother?" The twins exchanged a somber glance, their tiny hands clasping tightly. Before either could answer, a familiar voice echoed behind him. "Well, well. Look who decided to join us." Thaddeus spun around to see Lyra standing there, battered but alive. Her glow was fainter than ever, but her smile was radiant. "You didn't think I'd let you have all the fun, did you?" she teased weakly. Relief flooded through him, and for a moment, he couldn't speak. Finally, he managed a grin. "Next time, warn me before you try to fry yourself, all right?" She laughed softly, collapsing onto the grass beside him. "Deal." As they rested, recovering from their harrowing ordeal, Thaddeus gazed up at the twin suns. This new world was strange and unfamiliar, but somehow it felt right. Together, they had faced impossible odds, and survived. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew they would face them as a team. For now, though, they allowed themselves a rare moment of peace, surrounded by the beauty of an alien paradise. As the days turned into weeks, Thaddeus and Lyra worked together to adapt to their new surroundings on the other side. The land was abundant with resources unlike anything they'd encountered before. Plants that glowed softly in the twilight, rivers filled with crystalline water, and skies painted with hues no human eye could ever fully capture. Yet despite the beauty of this alien world, it wasn't without its challenges. Lyra's strength had been severely depleted during their escape through the veil, leaving her unable to use her powers as freely as she once had. Without her abilities to guide them, tasks that should have been simple, like finding food or shelter, became daunting. But Thaddeus proved resourceful, applying his farming knowledge to cultivate edible plants he discovered growing near the riverbanks. Slowly but surely, they built a life for themselves amidst the unfamiliar terrain. Astra and Solon thrived in this environment, their natural curiosity leading them to explore every corner of their new home. They quickly learned which plants were safe to eat and how to communicate with the local wildlife, a species of small, bird-like creatures that chirped melodically and seemed eager to interact with the newcomers. Watching the twins grow stronger and more confident brought both joy and relief to Lyra, who often found herself marveling at their resilience. But while the immediate threat of pursuit had faded, shadows still lingered over their newfound peace. Lyra spoke little of what had happened back on Earth, though Thaddeus knew she carried the weight of leaving her people behind. One evening, as they sat around a campfire under the twin sun's fading glow, he finally broached the subject. "You don't talk about them," Thaddeus said gently, poking at the flames with a stick. "Your family. Your world." Lyra sighed, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the last rays of sunlight danced across the sky. "It's hard to explain," she admitted. "I love my people, but their ways, they're rigid, unforgiving. When I chose to protect my children, even if it meant defying orders, I knew there would be consequences." Thaddeus nodded thoughtfully. "Do you regret it?" She turned to look at him, her green eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. "Not for a moment. Astra and Solon are everything to me. And," she added with a small smile, "meeting you has shown me that kindness exists beyond our borders. That gives me hope." Her words struck a chord deep within Thaddeus, stirring emotions he hadn't felt since losing Sarah. He realized then just how much Lyra and her children had come to mean to him, not as strangers from another world, but as family. Months passed, and their bond only grew stronger. Together, they constructed a modest dwelling using materials scavenged from the surrounding area. It wasn't fancy, but it was sturdy enough to withstand the occasional storms that swept across the plains. Inside, shelves lined the walls, holding jars of preserved fruits and vegetables alongside tools Thaddeus had crafted by hand. One day, while exploring further upstream, Astra stumbled upon something extraordinary, a grove of trees whose bark shimmered like liquid silver. As she touched one of the trunks, tendrils of light emerged, forming intricate patterns that pulsed rhythmically. Intrigued, she ran back to tell the others. When they arrived, Lyra gasped in recognition. "These are memory trees," she whispered. "They store fragments of experiences, thoughts, even emotions. My ancestors used them to preserve history." Thaddeus approached cautiously, reaching out to touch one of the glowing tendrils. Instantly, images flooded his mind. Scenes of Lyra's homeworld, bustling cities filled with towering spires, fields of bioluminescent crops, and skies alive with ships darting between stars. He saw glimpses of Lyra's childhood, her laughter echoing through palace halls, and later, the pain of being ostracized for questioning tradition. When the vision faded, tears streamed down his face. "I didn't realize," he began, struggling to find the right words. "You gave up so much." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her expression soft yet resolute. "And gained so much more. Don't pity me, Thaddeus. This is my choice, the life I want for my children." Inspired by the discovery, Lyra began experimenting with the memory trees, using their energy to slowly regain some of her lost abilities. Over time, she managed to create a protective barrier around their settlement, ensuring their safety from any potential threats. Meanwhile, Thaddeus continued to tend to their crops, teaching Astra and Solon the art of farming and survival. Years went by, and the once strange landscape became second nature to all of them. Astra and Solon grew into curious, intelligent young beings, blending traits from both their mother's advanced intellect and Thaddeus's practical wisdom. They often joked about building a spaceship someday, dreaming of adventures among the stars. One evening, as they gathered around the campfire, Thaddeus raised a toast with a cup of fermented fruit juice. "To us," he said warmly. "To finding each other when we needed it most, and making a home out of chaos." Lyra smiled, raising her own cup. "To trust, courage, and the bonds that transcend worlds." As the fire crackled and the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting the land in a warm, golden glow, Thaddeus felt an overwhelming sense of contentment. Though their journey had been fraught with danger and uncertainty, they had emerged stronger, for themselves and for one another. In the end, it wasn't about where they came from or the differences between them. It was about the choices they made, the love they shared, and the unwavering belief that even in the vastness of the universe, connection could be found in the most unexpected places. And so, under the watchful eyes of two suns and surrounded by the hum of memory trees, they lived, not just surviving, but thriving, as a testament to the power of unity, hope, and the enduring spirit of family.